Hey everybody, this is Ro. Welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to have another very special guest here today who is helping us celebrate Second Chances Month. And I can't think of a better second guest to celebrate this month with us. So this is my brother, Arturo. I can't say your name nearly as beautifully as you can say it. I am the worst with accents. But why don't you tell us a little about who you are, a little about your story, how long you served inside, how long you've been home, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Excuse me. Well, as Ro said, my name is Arturo Cantu.
Much more beautiful.
I can roll my R's. Really, I guess I'm of Mexican descent. I live in Holland, Michigan. I was actually born and raised in Holland, Michigan. My parents are, my mother and father, both from Nuevo Laredo, Tamaulipas, Mexico.
Now you're just making me look real bad.
And well, they're from just the frontera, or the border town to Mexican side. The Mexican side, actually, the Texas side is Laredo, Texas. So Mexican side is where they're from, and really they migrated up here to Michigan. So through the years of migration, back and forth and seasonal work. Of course, I have three older sisters that were part of that travel, but then my parents settled in Holland, Michigan to I guess, a very strong economy at that time. And they stopped the seasonal work and migrant work and actually kind of got into factory. And my mother became a ESL teacher in the Holland public school system. So I come from a hardworking background. And of course, that was instilled in me growing up. I worked in the blueberry fields as a youngster, and kind of was, I guess, how would you say it, a little deprived of some things, mainly because of just the economic status of my parents and how that all took place. And then, of course, my parents ended up getting divorced, and I really don't know the true variable that was the cause of this, but at the least, I know they got divorced. I was 3 years old at that time. My father went back to the Texas area and took my sisters with him, and it was me and my mother. So I lived in and was raised pretty much from the time I was 3 to the time I was 8 in a single parent home. And my mother did everything she could to provide and make me as happy and as loving as I am today. And that was something that I never realized until I got incarcerated. And I'll kind of touch on that later, maybe some of the questions. But, you know, my mom never made me feel that I didn't have. And, of course, that was something that I seen in incarceration as I reflected back on my life. But nonetheless, my mother ended up meeting my stepfather. And my stepfather came into my life at the age of 9. I think it was in 4th grade. And of course, my stepfather was, I guess, engaged in the other side of things, right, or illegal, ill-gotten gain. So I was kind of taught from that age on until, I guess, maybe till the time I got incarcerated, that the way to, I guess, or what I thought was a way to prosperity was through ill-gotten gain. And, of course, I seen everything materialistically that was brought on from my stepfather and everything he was a part of. So, of course, I grew up in an environment thinking that was how you got materialistic things. And, of course, in a young kind of naive sort of mindset, I actually thought that was happiness. You know, I thought materialistic things, having things of monetary value were what brought happiness to everybody. And pretty much that was what led to the path that I lived. So from teenage years, I started engaging in alcohol and drug abuse, of course, and of course it progressively got bad from there, just because as you grow older you think you know more and are more I guess what it became was a lifestyle for me. I didn't even know that I was kind of engaging in some of the things I was engaging in until it was, you know, until I got incarcerated and reflected back on those phases of my life. And but despite the alcohol and drug use, I excelled academically, I excelled athletically, and of course along with that came some notoriety and popularity within high school. And I kind of went through high school not really applying myself that much, but still kind of gaining some accolades along the way. So that was another kind of bad contributor to my formula and equation. And to say the least, I did learn a little through high school, and I did apply myself when needed. So I was never ineligible for any of my sporting events. So I was a 3-sport athlete, football, basketball, baseball. And of course, along with all that in the high school kind of years, you know, the standout athlete sort of has a little bit more leniency when it comes to academics within the school system. So I end up getting offered some scholarships. And of course, I thought that I could continue doing what I was doing and not apply myself and still step into those scholarships. And of course, when you graduate with a 1.98 GPA, you don't qualify for those scholarships. So I kind of went into the workforce out of high school. And of course, along with all this, I still kind of had some supplementary income, if you will. And of course, I graduated with each passing year. I graduated and moved up the ranks in that sort of, I guess, structure. But I don't really want to highlight that. I kind of say that and bring that to everyone's attention because, you know, I want everyone to know the backstory of the environment I grew up in, and ended up marrying my high school sweetheart, and I ended up having 3 children with her. And of course, continue living the lifestyle. I always had an income. I always worked, but I also always supplemented. So along them years and living that lifestyle, I kind of lost myself. And in that process, I ended up kind of ruining my marriage and ended up getting divorced and then going off of the deep end a little and trying to find myself and trying to kind of figure out life, and ended up in federal prison in 2004, I believe. And it's kind of, the years just kind of blend together. I don't even remember what year it was. So I was incarcerated from 2004 to I just got released in August of 2017. So I know everyone's good at math, you know, but approximately 13 years. And if you include the halfway house, I was given 11 months of halfway house. So if you include the halfway house, roughly 14 years I was a part of, I guess, the being incarcerated with the Federal Bureau of Prisons. Currently still on probation, but just to kind of back up a little bit, you know, I came into prison, and since I didn't go to college, I turned pretty much prison system into my university. So I took every program. I did everything possibly I could to gain some knowledge, to better educate myself, to kind of get me in a position to, I guess, make up, if you will, for some of my lack of effort in high school and in those years of my life. And after 3 years, I pretty much took everything as far as programming was concerned. I took all of that and kind of got a little bored. I was in USP Terre Haute in, what was it? It's Terre Haute, Indiana, maximum security prison. I was there. And after 3 years, I decided that I needed to entertain myself, and I actually started engaging in some illegal activity within the prison system. And from, I guess, 2005 to 2009, I kind of lived a similar lifestyle as I did outside, or at least to the extent that you can live it within the walls. And in 2009, on my 33rd birthday, I ended up catching another federal indictment while in prison, and I was sent to the SHU, or the Special Housing Unit, which is what the SHU stands for, SHU. And I was in solitary confinement for 10 months. So 10 months of solitary confinement was really where I kind of came to the realization that the decisions I was making in life was not only affecting me, it was affecting my family and keeping me further and farther away from them. So 10 months of solitary confinement, I pretty much devised a plan to educate myself, to really start making decisions that were going to affect my family in a good way. And I went on a journey of self-discovery and introspection. And I did everything I could to build myself educationally and academically. And after them 10 months were up, I got shipped out to a maximum security prison in Atwater, California. And of course, living in Michigan and getting shipped out to Atwater, California, it was definitely a feeling of even more distance. Even, you know, in Terre Haute, I'm only five hours away from home. In California, I don't know how many exact hours I was, but just knowing that I was that much more further away from my family really had effect on me. So I ended up kind of doing the same thing there. I turned back into a student and turned the prison into my college. I went from pretty much teaching, or excuse me, from taking all the classes to teaching. I became a GED tutor and entered into the Department of Labor teacher apprenticeship program. And from there, lowered my points and then got shipped to Bradford, Pennsylvania, where I sort of continued that process. And of course, if some of you guys know Rose's story, you know where Adam's at, and that's where I met Adam, and that's where I kind of went on an even more advanced, I guess, journey when it comes to academics, creating programs. And I was there for 5 years. Helped kind of spearhead the life coaching program that's there at FCI McKean. I did everything from facilitation to curriculum creation to being an adjunct professor, or excuse me, adjunct teacher for a professor of criminal justice in Tony Gaskew from the University of Pittsburgh, Bradford, and actually an adjunct facilitator for the ILCT, which is the school that accredits us as life coaches within that program. And of course, some things changed within the law, and my intent was to stay at Bradford and finish my time out there and kind of benefit and help as much as I could with all the program and men going through that program and helping them in that process. But the laws changed as it relates to the RDAP, or the Residential Drug Abuse Program. So I had some violence on my record, but they changed the law in that if it was 10 years old, you could qualify for the time off. And of course, I needed to go home sooner. Even though I had already extended my time, I didn't want to extend it anymore. So I entered into the Residential Drug Abuse Program and got shipped to Oxford, Wisconsin, and was there until my release. So I ended up taking the program there, getting the time off, getting a year reduction, and then getting 11 months, which is part of the second chance. It was 11 months of halfway house. So pretty much 6 months of regular halfway house, and then 5 months of second chance halfway house. So that's why I kind of released and went to Grand Rapids, Michigan to a halfway house, and was there in living out of the halfway house for 5 months, and then went into home confinement for the last 7 months of that duration. And so I've been kind of living within my family and in my home for what we're going on. Wow. This July will be probably a year and a half. I mean, so I'm probably about 13, 14 months of kind of freedom or probation, or it's not even freedom, but living within family, which kind of feels like freedom, but having a tether on to July of last year. So this July will be kind of a year on probation. And that's kind of the quick summary of where I come from, who I am, and sort of my journey so far.
Well, first of all, welcome home. I know
you.
you've been doing amazing since you've been home. And second of all, I just want to thank you for being so candid and for being so honest and going back as far as you did in your story, because I know so many people can relate. And something that stood out to me was when you said, I felt like I had to do that. I felt like I didn't have another choice. And then as you moved forward and you felt like you had to supplement your income. And most of the people that are watching this are either loved ones of somebody who's incarcerated, or they want to learn about it. So I know that your story can resonate with so many people. And then when you said that you kind of had a little bit of a glitch when you went inside and you caught that other charge, again, that can resonate because I have 60,000 women who are on my website and a few thousand people who watch these videos regularly, and they go through this and they have so many questions. So thank you for that, because you're going to answer a lot of those questions and kind of soothe the fears of a lot of people watching this. Yeah, so guys, I apologize, of course. So I have to use my phone because I have questions written in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do kind of like a Tim Ferriss, I kind of stole this from him, where I'm going to ask on these interviews for the Second Chance Month, the same questions and see how everybody answers them differently so we can get different perspectives. So the first question is, tell me a little about yourself. Oh, wait, I already asked that. So the second question is, what was one unexpected obstacle you encountered during your transition home?
One unexpected obstacle was the emotions and hurt that everybody else had while I was away.
Interesting.
I did not, don't get me wrong, I understood it. I'm very empathetic and understand other people's emotions well, and I didn't understand to the extent that I hurt others, and just, kind of thinking about that it makes me sad because, I didn't want to ever hurt anybody with any of my choices, or, I didn't know how much it affected them, but, they were sad, and they were, I guess, dealing with unpurged emotions, if you will, right? From all them years that I've been gone, all the things I missed, my kids not being a part of the family the way I would have wanted them to, just because of the situation with me and my ex-wife. But yeah, so that was an unexpected obstacle, because you don't have much time to kind of figure that out, right? You're either emailing or talking for 15 minutes at a time, and you don't get a chance. You don't want to use that 15 minutes to kind of make it more sad, right? So when I came home, I realized that there was a lot of hurt that was either directly or indirectly caused by me, maybe by some of the things that I did while incarcerated, or just by me being incarcerated, and how things unfolded while I was away. So.
Yeah, and just a follow-up question to that. This isn't one of the questions, but I'm just so curious. Did they keep that from you because they were trying to protect you and didn't want to kind of open that wound?
If I would have to, and I guess in evaluating it right now here on the spot, yeah, I think that was what it was. They didn't want to stress my time any more than what it really was. I think, and I appreciate that, but at the end of the day, it's not very healthy for anyone to kind of hold things in, and I would have wished that we could have cleared some things up before I came home, because there's so many more stressors that I didn't realize that I was going to take on in the transition. You think you prepare for everything. At least I thought I prepared for everything, and I had a number of years of, I guess, reprogramming the brain. But I didn't take into consideration that other people weren't programming their brain, or weren't filtering out and kind of getting to better places. So it's almost as if I got to a good place and they still needed to, and I had to help that process. So.
Yeah. And I'm sorry to put you on the spot like that, but that's where I was trying to go. And that's what I was trying to get to, because a lot of people that I coach don't like to open up that wound, or they're afraid that if they bring that up, then he's going to get mad or not call her or not email and kind of punish her. And I always say, or him, and I always say that it's better to be communicative and to talk through all that stuff, because that's what's going to make you stronger in the long run. So thank you for that. And also, another thing that I always do with Strong Prison Wives and Families, I always say this, and this is what I always go after when I'm trying to build my programs and push my programs to the people that I feel need them the most, is that you just nailed it on the head. It is so difficult to have one partner in the relationship, or even family member if you're not in a relationship, who has progressed and has changed, and then the other one is so far behind. So that's why I always push coaching on the inside and coaching on the outside. And that's where I always try to go with my program. So thank you so much for that. Okay, number 3. If you had to do it over again and were being released today, what would you do differently?
I think you kind of really said that. I think I would have been more concerned for my family, and really if they were ready for me. I was so concerned about myself. I was, kind of in a selfish sort of mindset, I guess, and really is, am I ready? But I wish I would have paid more attention to them and see if they were ready, because I think that was one of the key kind of elements in why I've been so successful, is that, my family structure is very tight, and it's tight because they're also giving, and they've given so much to me through the years, and they continue to help me progress. And I wish I would have cleared some things up. I wish I would have taken more time to make sure they were okay. just because I think it would have been an easier transition for all of us if I would have, I guess, not been so selfish.
Again, I love the candidness and the openness, because it's one thing when, and I think I've said this on every one of these interviews, but it's one thing when something comes out of my mouth, because I say it in theory or from what I've experienced from this outside perspective, but to get it from that inside perspective from somebody who's actually lived it, I think is so much more meaningful for the people who are on the outside and watching this. So thank you for that. Okay, so going back a little bit further, what might you have done differently while still in prison, knowing the challenges you are going to face once released?